resort to anything to keep alive their failing Euro project, our advice to those expats living down in the Mediterranean must be, get your money out of there while you've still got the chance. But to see the threats and the bullying that are going on with Greece, Portugal, Spain and Cyprus, and to realise that actually none of it will do any good anyway, because these countries should never have joined the euro in the first place. But to see the monstrous bullying and intimidation that is going on tells me that actually we, UKIP, are the true Europeans, because not only do we want to get the United Kingdom out of this anti-democratic structure, we actually want the rest of Europe to leave the European Union too and get back their independence and democracy in their own countries. Now, of course, Mr. Cameron has talked about the European question in a speech he gave the other week. You might have noticed. It was rather heavily trailed, and despite the fact that he'd said again and again and again, I do not want there to be a referendum on Britain's membership of the European Union, he has now said that if he wins the next general election, it doesn't look very likely, does it? If he wins the next general election, and following a protracted renegotiation, did you see the other day that George Osborne went to object to the caps on bonuses for the financial market sector? He lost the vote by 26-1. So I don't think the renegotiation really is terribly credible. But if all of these things happen, then in nearly 5 years' time, he might give us the opportunity to vote in a referendum. I'm sorry, Mr. Cameron, if you thought that speech was going to get UKIP off your back, it is too little, it is too late, and frankly, coming from the man who a few years ago said, I give you this cast iron guarantee that if I become Prime Minister, there'll be a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. The fact is, Mr. Cameron, we don't believe you, and we don't trust you either. And I'll make a prediction here and now. It may well be that at the moment Mr. Miliband and Mr. Clegg are not promising a referendum in their next manifesto, but after the local elections on May the 2nd, when we tear into their vote too, they will make the same pledge, and you know what? We won't believe them either. And yet, in the middle of all of this, we're discussing in Westminster other issues. And of course, the big one this week is regulation of the press. Now, I think we have to recognise that there were some very serious tabloid excesses. Indeed, I was a victim of the hacking scandal myself. I wasn't very happy about it. But as it turns out, we actually have legislation against all of the things that those newspapers did. And whilst it's time-consuming and costly, we have had legal redress. Now, it looked for a period of time as if the Lib Dems and the Labour Party would press for state regulation, but that Cameron's Conservative Party would stand aside from that. But in a very odd deal that took place, we're told, at 2:30 in the morning in Ed Miliband's office with the hacked-off lobby group in the room, Cameron has decided that on this, as with virtually every other single issue, the three parties, the Lib Lab Con, are to be all the same, and they are all pressing for state regulation of the press, and that means a big, expensive quango. It means politicians doing what they can to get stories suppressed, and doing it at a time when we have such an active and lively internet that it won't make any difference anyway. All it will do is to damage the British newspaper industry and magazine industry. And as somebody that travels a huge amount around the world, I promise you, whatever you think of the British press, I think we've got the best and most open press in this country of any country in the world. And that whilst we acknowledge there have been excesses, and whilst we think that perhaps a royal charter might be a good idea, we are opposed to politicians regulating the press in this country. We believe in freedom of speech. Is that clear? Now, I said at the Scarborough Spring Conference in 2011 that I believed this party had enough buzz and enough momentum that we could challenge and perhaps even overtake the Liberal Democrats as the third party in the opinion polls in this country. Well, in last Sunday's poll in the Observer, we were double the percentage points of the Liberal Democrats. And as I've said already, we're taking our votes from across the spectrum. But it appears to be the Conservative Party that is fretting the most about the progress that UKIP is making. Now, I rather think that the effect we have on the Conservative Party is actually more psychological than it is arithmetical. You know, the reason the Conservatives didn't do very well in Eastleigh wasn't actually because of Diane and UKIP. It was because Conservative voters are used to listening to a Conservative leader that talks about business, free markets and aspiration, and they've now got a Conservative leader who talks about gay marriage and wind turbines. So I think that's why the Conservative Party are doing well. And you will have heard from Conservative MPs, MEPs, and indeed in the editorials of some of our national newspapers, the call that a deal must be done between the Conservative Party and UKIP. And there are two things I want to say about that at this juncture. My first is that even if we were looking to do a deal, we wouldn't be doing it with a man who takes every single opportunity to abuse us, our ideas, our policies, and our millions of supporters out there in the country. There is no prospect at any time of us doing a deal with David Cameron as leader of the Conservative Party. But actually, doing a deal isn't my personal priority. I didn't come into politics to do a deal with somebody for some sort of short-term personal or political advantage. I came into politics from business on a point of principle. I want my country back from the European Union and back from the career politicians. No, my priority is to make UKIP a mainstream political force in this country that changes the face of our nation. That is what we're here to do as a party. And we're going to go into the local elections on May the 2nd, and we're going to fight the biggest ever domestic election campaign that UKIP has fought in this country. Many of you, over 1,700 of you, have so far come forward and put your names down to stand in the English County Council elections. And I know there are more of you in this room who, when my speech is finished, will be going to the back of the hall to volunteer to help the charge. Let's make sure that all those people out there that support us, that believe in us, that are backing us, let's make sure they've got the chance to vote UKIP on May the 2nd. These elections really do matter to us. We have to show the world that support for UKIP isn't just theoretical in opinion polls, but that it really exists. And as we can learn from the Lib Dems, now honestly, there are things we can learn from the Lib Dems, but during that period when Ashdown was leader, you know, they focused on building up centres of excellence by winning district council seats, by winning county council seats. And once you've done that in an area, then you've got a realistic chance of fighting a parliamentary seat and winning it. So doing well on May the 2nd, establishing bridgeheads on those county councils up and down the country is very, very important. I haven't got a crystal ball. I can't predict what is going to happen on May the 2nd. But all I can tell you is going out and meeting people and looking forward to my fortnight's bus tour of England, when I'm going to come and support many of your campaigns. The vibes are good. We won a council by-election in East London. this week. We won a council by-election last week in Surrey. The vibes are good, and we must give it everything we've got, ladies and gentlemen, between now and May the 2nd, and let's make this a real, huge success. And of course, we'll have an eye out for the next parliamentary by-election, and we'll fight that with all the vigour that we've got. But once May the 2nd is over, the priority then is to get this party ready to fight the European elections in May of next year. Those elections will take place on the same day that thousands of district council and unitary authority seats are up. And it is my aim and my ambition that in those European elections next year, that we turn the tremor that we caused in British politics in Eastleigh into a national earthquake by winning the European elections next year. That is our goal and that is our aim. And if on the back of those European elections we are able to win hundreds of district and unitary seats up and down this country, added on to whatever we can achieve on May the 2nd this year, we will then have built up those hotspots, those centres of excellence. And with that momentum, and by showing the electorate we can succeed under first past the post, and by beating down the biggest obstacle that's ever happened to UKIP, which is that it's a wasted vote, by showing people that it's not a wasted vote, we can then mount a serious, credible campaign for the general election of 2015. We are not there yet, ladies and gentlemen, but it has been my honour over the course of the last year to lead you, to see the fantastic progress that we're making. We're not there yet, but I tell you what, we're getting closer. Thank you.